Hey there. Yeah, I, Zak Wolf, am doing another one of my rare Throwback Thursday videos related to older technology. And this time, the throwback is, as you probably noticed by the low standard definition video quality, is that for this one, I'm doing another video shot on MiniDV. This time I'm using my Canon Optura 60 camcorder. This time it's got an external microphone attachment, so that it doesn't pick up the whir of the motor noise inside it, because that's a common flaw with those kind of consumer prosumer tape-based DV camcorders. The onboard microphone could pick up the whirring motor to tape mechanism. So that's why it would often be best if you got one that supported external microphones. So that background noise you're hearing is part of the throwback. I'm editing this on a PowerMac G4 mirror drive door desktop in 2003. It's notorious for its fairly loud fans, which has earned it the nickname the wind tunnel. And usually I try to keep background noise to a minimum for these vlogs. But I figured it was appropriate for this subject, because the background noise is the subject of this video. See, I got booted into macOS 9. So I'm going to be editing this video on the macOS 9 partition on this. So usually the past few videos I've done filmed on an older camcorder or something as a throwback. I edited on a modern computer, like my Mac Mini Air, or this M1 MacBook Air I generally use nowadays. Speaking of which, I'm looking forward to hopefully later this spring or this summer, getting the new M2 Pro Mac Mini to replace this thing. So yeah, now I'll show you a little bit of this footage from the outside. Now here's the mandatory outdoor section of my vlog. So you can see by the image quality, MiniDV was considered really good for the 2000s. It's definitely better than all the old analog formats until high definition came along, and that, by the end of that decade, it started to get popular for home movies and web video and such. The colors are decent, though the Optura 60 was a 1 CCD camcorder. So of course a more professional 3 CCD camcorder would have had better color and brightness and stuff, but this is still good enough for home movies and web video and the like. Yeah, you might notice like the molten snow here. So far this winter, anytime it's snow, we usually don't get a lot, and that by the end of the day, a lot of it would have melted away when the sun came out or it changed over into rain. Earlier this week, we got our first fairly big snowstorm of the year, accumulated up to like a few inches. And what's unusual, that not only was the snow real late for Christmas, it was late for Valentine's Day. Pretty weird, huh? Me often talking about the climate change stuff. But enough environmental messages. I just figured this would still be a nice day enough to get footage like this for this video I'm going to edit on the PowerMac G4 macOS 9. Now I'll go back inside and give a few more details of my stuff. Now I'm editing this vlog using Adobe Premiere 6.5 on macOS 9. This is the last version of Premiere before it got updated into Adobe Premiere Pro and was Windows only from 2003 to 2007. Also, it works on macOS 10, but on macOS 10.4 Tiger, it crashes when I try to save it or whatever. So I'm editing it on macOS 9 just to be safe. Plus, it's a fun throwback that way, video editing before macOS 10. I could have done it on the old iMovie, but back then it didn't support widescreen footage. And also, Final Cut Pro back then was way more complicated, even though it supported widescreen footage. And forget about editing high definition footage on macOS 9, because by that point it didn't really start to become more common until the mid-2000s, even when there were still PowerPC Macs being made. Also, there's still, I had to capture it in real time and all that stuff, and that takes a while. That's another reason why eventually tapeless camcorders, like using flash memory and stuff, won over the tape-based ones. This is why, usually, for my first vlogs and stuff, I use my my Canon VIXIA HF-R600, as I've shown you before. It's small, it's compact, and it's got the best video quality out of all the camcorders I currently use, at least when it comes to 1080 HD video. But back in the mid to late 2000s, as I said, MiniDV and its HDV counterpart were the highest quality on video formats. Because back then, the earlier tape-based camcorders that recorded onto hard drive or memory cards or even little DVDs, their quality was noticeably inferior. Even the early high-definition ones using the AVC HD codec at the time. So back then, your best bet was to still go with a tape-based one, like this Canon HV40 here. This HDV camcorder was Canon's last MiniDV-based camcorder made in 2009. It does make a nice backup camcorder for me to use for HD stuff, as the video quality on it comes pretty close, I will admit. It's still not as good, and of course, importing the footage is a lot easier on the R600. Also, editing this with Adobe Premiere 6.5, the color correction features weren't as good as when it became Premiere Pro, but it's still a fun throwback because that's the video editing software I used in my high school, the first professional quality editing software I used. And so that pretty much got me hooked on using the multi-track video and audio editing. Definitely better than what Windows Movie Maker had at that time. And also, iMovie didn't support widescreen or HD footage until 2005, and it was starting to become the norm then. And also, you had to import the footage via FireWire, requiring the computer as some kind of FireWire connection. Of course, virtually all the Macs made in the early to mid-2000s had it. But for today's Macs, if you need to use it, you can just use like a FireWire to Thunderbolt adapter. Or if you have a desktop PC tower, you can get a PCI FireWire card. But I've already talked about that before. I hope you enjoyed this vlog of sorts. As always, just keep watching this YouTube channel to see whatever comes up next, especially now that March is here.